Welcome to the Explainer. All right, today we're going to break down a really powerful practice for software development that honestly is all about communication. It's called Acceptance Test-Driven Development, or ATDD for short. So let's just jump right in with a big question, one that gets right to the core of ATDD. What if I told you that you could find and fix most of your bugs before a single line of code is even written? It sounds kind of crazy, but that's the world we're going to explore today. But first, to really understand why a new approach is so needed, we have to talk about the old way, which, let's be honest, is often a bit of a mess. Does this look familiar? You know the drill. The product owners have one idea in their heads, the developers interpret it a slightly different way, and the testers are left trying to figure out what was supposed to happen. You've got these silos, and it just leads to all sorts of problems. Ambiguous requirements, tons of costly rework, and bugs that only pop up at the very end when they're the absolute hardest and most expensive to fix. So what's the fix? Well, that's where ATDD comes in. It's a practice that's specifically designed to replace all that chaos with clarity, right from the get-go. So what is ATDD, really? Well, simply put, it's a practice where the entire team, we're talking developers, testers, and the business folks, all get in a room together to define what done actually looks like. It's like having the architect, the builder, and the future homeowner all agree on the exact blueprint of a house, down to the very last detail before anyone even thinks about pouring the foundation.
And when you make that shift, the change is just incredible. You're directly tackling all those old problems. Those silos, they become true collaboration. That ambiguity, it gets replaced with crystal clarity. Costly rework turns into efficiency. And you're not finding bugs late in the game anymore because you're getting feedback early. It all just flows from that shared understanding you built at the beginning.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? Let's walk through how this workflow really plays out step by step.
The heart of ATD is this really simple but incredibly powerful four-step cycle. First, you discuss. The whole team gets together and talks through a user story. Then you distill. You take that conversation and turn it into real, concrete tests. Next, the developers develop. And here's the key. They write just enough code to make those tests pass, and no more. And finally, you demo the working piece to make sure you got it right. Then you just rinse and repeat.
All right. Let's make this tangible with a super common example, a login feature. We've all built one, we've all used one. The team might start with a simple user story just like this. But, log into the system can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
And this is where that discuss phase is so critical. The team gets together and hashes it out. They turn that vague story into specific, testable criteria. Okay, what's the happy path? A valid username and password get you to the dashboard. What about the unhappy path? The wrong info gives you an error message. Everybody agrees on this stuff before we move on.
Then that criteria gets distilled into this simple, amazing format called given when then. This is the magic right here. It turns a messy conversation into a perfectly clear, unambiguous, and even automatable test that anyone, whether you're a coder or not, can read and understand instantly.
So, you're putting in all this work up front to talk and collaborate. What's the big payoff? Well, it's huge, and it impacts the entire team and the business.
The advantages are pretty compelling, right? Because you're defining success from the start, and you're catching all those misunderstandings early, you can't help but build a higher quality product. You're getting constant early feedback from your tests, which leads to massive efficiency gains because you're not doing rework, and it all stems from that core idea, a shared understanding across the whole team.
And the benefits just keep coming. Those tests you wrote, they become living documentation for your system that never gets out of date. They also create this incredible safety net, so when you need to make changes months down the line, you can do it with confidence. And, maybe most importantly, because every single feature is built to satisfy a specific business-focused test, you know your development team is always working on things that deliver real value.
Now, you've probably heard a few other three-letter acronyms thrown around, like BDD and TDD. They're all part of the same family, so it can get a little confusing. Let's quickly clear up how they all fit together.
Here's the easiest way to think about it. TDD, or test-driven development, is really a developer's tool. It's focused on the code at a very low level to make sure the individual components work correctly. ATD and BDD, on the other hand, are way more zoomed out. They're both about collaboration between technical and business folks. They are very, very similar. BDD is sort of an evolution of ATD that focuses more on describing the system's behavior. But really, at their core, they share the exact same collaborative DNA.
So at the end of the day, ATDD is so much more than just a technical process. It's really a cultural shift. It's a commitment from the entire team to stop making assumptions, to start having real conversations, and to make absolutely sure that the thing they're building is the thing the user actually needs. It's all about building better software by building it together.